Just ignore Lip. Just ignore Lip, Johnny.
Yeah, don't worry about him.
Bruh, like, it's the first time the East to meet in the West, and apparent potential maybe the Shanghai Dragons winning the whole thing, according to Johnny, and they go up against the Toronto Defiant, who have looked incredibly mid, quite literally mid, 6-6 in the regular season up until this point. How is this going to go? Probably Shanghai's way. I like the enthusiasm, though, and just keeping spirits high on the Toronto Defiant camp, but the Clash of Styles, Rose, is going to be, I think, the tail for this series, but Shanghai Dragons just look unbelievably dominant, like, permanently. It's the same old Dragons, and with the Ashe against the Sojourn, there's a lot of consistent output, but FaZe Wrecking Ball is going to get knocked around by Muse? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a lot of different things that we need to look at for this series in particular, but when we look at East versus West, classically, there's just two vastly different play styles that we see coming out from both of these regions. The East has predominantly looked for dive moments, really playing around the Wrecking Ball is kind of one of their main staples in that meta, and then over on the West, it kind of feels like anything goes. We've seen a lot of Reinhardt Rush, we've also seen a lot of the Doomfist, and seen some more of those Winston moments as well. And so when you get these two regions coming together, when they have different pacings as well, it makes for some explosive action, and I cannot wait to get into it.
Let's have a look at Toronto Defiant's starting lineup. Remember, this is the first time this year we are seeing the clash, East versus West. Toronto Defiant representing the West right now, the Western region. Muse, Hisu, Finale, Choron, Twilight. Incredible team. They have the talent, says Mitch, constantly. I think a lot of other players say the same thing, but like I mentioned, they did kind of scrape in this tournament. They 6-6 overall in the regular season. Unbelievably mid-looking, but this Clash of Styles maybe throws Dragons off just a little bit. I mean, that's kind of what you're hoping. Everybody on paper should have the Dragons to win this series, but we could see it going the other way. Like, well, the first series of the Midseason Madness Tournament, Rose, with London's Spitfire dominating the Atlanta Reign. Anything can happen at this point.
Absolutely. I feel like when you look at Toronto Defiant and you look at that 6-6 scoreline, I don't know if it tells you the full picture about how Toronto Defiant have really done. I mean, just looking at stage 2, Toronto really started off with this super awkward kind of Winston Sombra dive that wasn't working for them. But as soon as Muse started to switch over to the Doomfist and Toronto was able to play Twilight on more of the Ana, which is his signature hero, Toronto Defiant really started to liven up, and I'm really excited to see if they are able to use this Doomfist to, like you said, kind of surprise the Dragons.
Let's wait and see. Dragons, let's have a look at their starting lineup today. A fun fact, in fact, a silly, stupid fact, if you really want it. The last time these teams met was in 2019, and in fact, they've only ever met once before. Like, insane. Obviously, crazy things happened in 2020, so it kind of prevented a lot of these teams playing each other, but they've only ever faced each other one time, and of course, they were very different rosters. Lip, Fled of Fate, Izayaki, and Lee Jae-gon, obviously on your screen right now. But back then, when they played against each other for that first time, it was Gamsu on tank, Envy was there as well, like Luffy, and you look at the side of the Defiant, a completely different roster too. Sharek was on that roster. We had Gods as well, the Hog God, Neko and Aid in the support. Like, this is how long it's been since these two teams have played each other, which is insane. But of course, you can see the Dragons starting lineup today. I feel like it's going to be an affair where Lip just kind of dominates Rose. His Ashe is unbelievable right now.
It is so good, absolutely, and it really rounds out this more veteran roster just really nicely. You look across the board, and I know that the rosters look a little bit different, but when you look at the Shanghai Dragons, you know these players. You know how well they have performed in the league in previous seasons, and it is so exciting to get a chance to see them here competing once again in this East versus West clash. But, you know, when I look at the Dragons, I'm kind of expecting them, especially with Fate and Lee Jae-gon in the roster, to really start playing more around that Wrecking Ball and that Winston dive. Shanghai also struggled a little bit to find their footing in stage 2, just like Toronto Defiant, but finally landed on something that is really working for them. So, Jaws, I feel like both of these teams know where their comfortability lies, and this first map is going to be super telling on how the rest of this series might be able to play out based on what they feel from each other.
I mean, you mentioned an excellent point, like Toronto's Defiance, their turnaround. Previously, we were seeing Hisu a lot on this Sombra. A lot of people didn't like the Sombra at that point in that stage of the meta. And then it was like, wow, okay, now you can play Sojourn. Oh my god, wow, he's insane. Who'd have thought?
Yes.
Who'd have thought Hisu God on Twitter was a good player? Like, it was a ridiculous come up, like complete transformation for the Toronto Defiant. And that's where they started getting a lot of their wins. They've had a couple of close series here and there against teams you shouldn't if you're the Toronto Defiant, like against the Paris Eternal. But we'll see if they can kick off the Midseason Madness with a bang against the Dragons. Does it like we're just going to jump into game in just a moment, but it will be Illios. This is our first map today, Rose.
Yeah, we're going to be kicking things off on Illios, but we got to also look at Hisu versus Lip. You know, I love that we get to bring up that Lip is such a phenomenal Ashe, but we also have to look at the Sojourn stats across the board because Hisu, phenomenal. Lip maybe trailing behind just a little bit in terms of some of these statistics coming out from the Sojourn play, but I think we're really going to see Lip focus more on the Ashe here, unless the Sojourn feels super necessary to get that more explosive damage with those charged up shots.
Yeah, the stats pretty similar, but yeah, like you mentioned, pulling away slightly is Hisu, especially in the damage per 10, and then the final blows, of course. Solo kills about the same, overclock and deaths kind of the similar, but those final blows and the hero damage overall, very much Hisu favored in that regard. But yeah, I just especially with the way the Shanghai Dragon's been playing, I'm not sure we're going to see that Sojourn one-on-one. I kind of want to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. Shanghai Dragons, like you mentioned, Rose, have they've very much found their groove. The only team they've really struggled against recently, and in fact their kryptonite, I should say, is the Seoul Dynasty, which we'll see a little bit later on this week, which is going to be quite exciting.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, Seoul Dynasty has just been tearing up a storm in the Eastern region, and it's going to be really cool to see them in action in this tournament as well, as we do have that clash of these regions. But, you know, when I look at the Dragons, and I'm looking at Lip and Fleta, there's so much versatility that they could go for here. They're both incredible DPS players. Their hero pools are very deep. And we've seen a lot of different looks from the Shanghai Dragons when Lip and Fleta are so flexible.
Yeah, and the Dragons, the last 4 games, Rose, they've only lost 1 map, and that was to the Chengdu Hunters. So very much on a hot streak right now. Looks like
that's true.
Everybody whacking their headsets on. Looking good, trying to Defiant. Should be getting into game in just a moment. Sorry for the brief pause before we jump into map number 1. Let's look at some more stats, shall we? While we wait.
Let's do it.
Fate versus Muse on the Winston. Although Fate has been preferring the Wrecking Ball as of recently, and Muse actually on the Doomfist. But if they do want to go to a Winston style comp, maybe on Watchpoint Gibraltar, for example, although you can still play Ball and Doomfist there, we might see a little bit of that Winston. And this is from the Midseason Madness qualifiers per 10.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, you're absolutely right. Fate has definitely been rocking more of the Wrecking Ball, but wow, this is, geesh, Muse,
low.
like, looking good.
Yeah, 6.3 deaths per 10 for Muse and only 3 for Fate. You don't die. I mean, that's very much of how, you know, Lujagon and Izuyaki in the back line.
But how much Winston is there for this sample pool, huh?
It's true. Maybe it's 30 seconds, we don't know. No, it'll be higher than that. Imagine the world. I wonder what the lowest hero pick rate is in the Overwatch League right now. It must be like Sim or... No, not Sim.
Junkrat. Wait.
Double shield, double wall meta.
Torb?
At some point. Not sure. I'm also very aware, Rose, that you're wearing quite a cool little Hawaiian shirt going on. I've only got 2 kind of flowery Hawaiian shirts going on at the moment, so I didn't want to wear it today. I wouldn't have any stuff for later on this
I just felt like I was
good.
I just wanted to match the great style of Illios and Avril earlier today, I was like, oh, you're right. It was something I just completely forgot about in terms of what am I going to wear for the Midseason Madness Tournament. I thought about this and then like, I don't know, like not a trench coat. What is the thing that
a trench coat?
A lab coat.
If
like
you turned up in a trench coat, I wouldn't know what to think. I'm looking like Morpheus out here. You should get the glasses as well. Looks like, unfortunately, we are jumping to a quick break. Toronto Defiant currently have a small issue, but that should get worked out in just a moment. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. We're about to get into the game in just a moment. We're discussing our fashion sense off broadcast. The only thing I have that is maybe Hawaiian, I don't know, is this small little thing of sand. This, yeah, that's about it. I've just got just a container full of sand, a takeaway container full of sand. That's about it. That's about as sandy as it gets where I live. Gonna be real, I live quite away from the ocean, so yeah, there's that. That's what I brought to the table today. You bought the fabulous dress sense as well as Avril and Seth, and I brought just a picture of sand. Epic stuff.
Very Hawaiian.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I was just trying to. I was honestly trying to think this morning, just kind of running through my apartment, like, do I have anything that's like kind of Hawaiian related I can like bring onto the broadcast? But no, just some sand. Unlucky. Toronto Defiant should have sorted their problem. Yeah, and we are getting into the lobby and into the game in just a moment, just waiting for the other couple of players to jump in the lobby, and then we should be good to go. But Shanghai Dragons versus the Toronto Defiant is the game on your screens in just a moment. Rose, it's the East versus West. The first time we get to see it this year. It's going to be exciting. I think we're not going to see any funny, silly games. And you said or we were kind of wondering what heroes were least played, and you were right, it was Junkrat who's least played this season, and then we spotted Hog down there as well. I don't think there's going to be any crazy shenanigans where Hog's going to get played, but a man can dream. A man can dream.
We'll revisit that point for our 4th series of the day. We might have some things to be said about what might happen over there. Don't speak it into existence yet, okay? We have a match on our hands right now. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see Roadhog here, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it can counter Wrecking Ball if you can land the hook, but then you get farmed by everything else, and Ana is played almost permanently, so...
And there's
Ash. Probably not going to happen, but you never know. Maybe Hog gets like a giant rework at some point, and they just or they just ignore him, which is fine by me, to be very honest with you. Although people still, you know, do be queuing up Hog in the beta right now, so that's also not fun, especially when it's just a perma flank Hog, which you can't really do in the Overwatch League, I will say. You just get utterly owned. So.
Well, okay, maybe not the flank Roadhog, but have you thought about the flank Zenyatta? We've definitely seen that before.
Oh yeah. I don't mind that at all. Hey, the more nanos we see on Zen in the Overwatch League, the more confidence it gives me in ranked to ask for a nano every single time. I'm going to be real with you. Give it to me. Maybe I'll choke. Probably. I'm going to be real. I'm not going to hit a single orb. It's going to be pretty embarrassing. Tell you what's not embarrassing, though. Flutter's stats this season. It's been looking pretty clean. Pretty clean. But who's really surprised? It is Flutter, of course.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, when we look at the Shanghai Dragons and we have Lip and Fleta playing simultaneously with each other, you see Lip more on the hit scan heroes, and then Fleta has been flexing over to like the Echo, the Mei, and of course the Tracer, which I really don't think should be a surprise to anybody in terms of how long Fleta can stay alive and also find value with those pulse bombs.
Yeah, those pulse bombs do be kind of hitting, though. I mean, it tied second for pulse bomb kills. Attach rate is rank 1. Deaths, rank 1. Damage, not so much, though. 5k out of 10, not great. But it says out of 17 players, and he's 20th place. Don't know. Math checks out. Almost. I think, still, we're going to see the dominance from the Dragons this series. It's really up to the Toronto Defiant to live up to the Dragons and hopefully catch a couple of maps, because at the end of the day, they have been a team that's lost against the good teams, won against some of the worst teams, and are just sitting in mid. Like, just at the middle of the table. 6-6 in the regular season. Like, this is the first time we're seeing these clashes, but the Dragons, it just looks like an assailable mountain right now for them to climb.
Yeah.
That is the Toronto Defiant, but there is still hope here. We've seen a lot of individual hero plays from people like Muse, but, I mean, the Dragons, crispy clean.
They do, but let's look at it from a different perspective as well. In terms of the Eastern teams that Shanghai Dragons has had to play against, I don't know, Jaws. I feel like I have a little bit of a question mark. Yes, they have a 9-3 record, but I feel like there are still some questions about where this team falls in the top 4 teams from the East that actually made it into the Midseason Madness. I mean, earlier on in the stage, Shanghai Dragons took some losses to Seoul and Hangzhou Spark, so I wonder. They're still really good. I'm not trying to say otherwise, but maybe Toronto can actually pull out some amount of surprise factor that could throw Dragons off their game. Because I do feel like when they take losses, it's because maybe they don't have a game plan of how they want to approach things like the beginning of stage number 2, or there's just a surprise that they're not really sure how to adjust to.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Do I spy a Mr. Packing 10 in Muse's camera? I think I do. Absolute Chad. Warlord. What? Seth's not on the broadcast anymore, right? He got off. And then we jump into a giant port. It seems like the time rift is opening, and somehow Seth is still on the broadcast because Mr.
Well, this is a team that he usually casts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yep, Mr. Port
Transitive
is
property
still here. Maybe he's still in the voice.
Pause.
We don't know. I don't know. Maybe he's still lingering around just to give us a little bit of a curse, potentially. Looks like Toronto Defiant is still trying to sort out a couple of small problems, but should be there in just a moment. Or I'm saying that. I hope, of course.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. It do be like that.
Though.
Do be like. So what's your favorite fish? Doesn't have to be a Hawaiian fish, but what is your favorite kind of fish? You know, I love talking about fish. I'm just gonna.
I know. Yeah. No, this is great. I usually have interesting things planned just in case to try to like entertain you with fish facts.
Oh, okay.
But I completely forgot. So I don't have anything prepared for that right now, but I will later. Ask me again, like, next time we're on the broadcast for Midseason Madness. But
that's fine. My
favorite fish is salmon, because it's tasty.
Okay, yeah, all right, okay, I'll take that. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, salmon's pretty nice. I like salmon. They do have
they're cool too.
They do have an interesting life cycle, I will say. If you ever look up or like watch a small documentary on salmon, it's quite sad, but they do taste quite good too, which is really great. I can name some sharks that are native to Hawaii or like hang around Hawaii.
Okay.
A lot of reef sharks. Yeah, there's white tip reef sharks, black tip reef sharks. Yeah, gray reef sharks, Galapagos sharks, smooth hammerhead actually.
Dang.
Around Hawaii as well, which is pretty sweet. That's pretty cool. So if any of the players want to go shark spotting, that's quite possible. A lot of them hang around, obviously, the reefs, hence their name. But yeah, there's a few different species of shark that hang around Hawaii, which is kind of cool.
It's pretty cool.
Looks like Toronto Defiant. Enough shark facts and fish facts for now. We'll come back in just a moment with more facts if they are not ready. But we're going to have a look at some of the top plays of the week from the Toronto Defiant. We'll see you in a bit. This is the final week before the Mid-Season Madness kicks off.
Gaga now taken down. Lee Jing-on finding that kill. Tries to stay alive, and Lee will finally finish him off with that rail. Jinmu 20 HP in a dream. Dashing and ducking around. Somehow still has not died. He kills them both! What just happened on screen?
There's no way.
Jinmu had no HP.
He knows.
1v2. And somehow he kills them both, and that's enough for them to get the cap.
Here we go.
Thank you, observers.
What? They just don't hit him. He's on 15 HP.
He just
completely demolishes them. Wow.
Jinmu just neo'd out. He just neo'd out of control. He just dodged every shot.
I think they're getting ready for it as well. As you can see, Pelicans are trying to get the dash reset up and running.
Okay, he's got dash. He's calling for it. Nano, Blade, straight to the back. The Transcendence not enough to save Victoria. The slash and then dash kills Punk too. What a nade from Iris. That does absolutely nothing when Pelican's in your face. A 5 kill for the Genji. And that's the Pelican we know and love.
Feels like, yeah, he might actually.
Pushed out.
Leave has to go as well. Leave has to pop ult. Surely.
He gets whip shot away, pops the Transcendence, just keeps everybody alive here for the time being. 10% left to go. Now Lee Jing-on gonna fall. Izayaki as well. Eliminated the overclock. Finds the elimination. Leave. Trying to go on the hunt. Finds Spletta. Gets the hit. Lip is taken down. And they're gonna make it happen. The full hold. Fate knows it's over. He just sits still. 92.4%. Leave playing off the back of Monk's contest. They make it work.
That's your MVP from 2021, baby. Infrasight for Infrasight here. Bigger difference maker could actually be the Dragon Strike. That will force Fusion off the payload, and that could be a cap, but Fitz is dead.
Wait a minute, what? 2 great shots from MN3. He gets a third. He's looking for some more. Immortality Field buys a little bit of time, but what an absolute incredible volley from MN3. Shutting them down one after the other.
Fitz taking a bunch of damage straight up.
And he's dead. They get the alley-oop. MN3 able to find the head. Just take him out. Dynamite not at the ready, otherwise you could try to flush these guys out from the back of the...
Dude. It's like we never left Circuit Royale. We're still there. We're still on Circuit Royale. We haven't left.
This man is absolutely insane today. What on God's green earth is going on? What do they feed him today? Is this the work of the cheesesteaks? I know they took him to the cheesesteak place recently. Is this the secret formula?
Blizzard from the back. Do they expect it? Slightly. Crimzo pops the Transcendence. Victoria's in a little bit of trouble, but with the Immortality Field, he should be good. Piggy has also been frozen, but saved with an Immortality from Iris. Merit. What? Wait. Was that a triple collapse?
Where did that come from?
I think
that was a triple kill with one railgun. I could be wrong. That was a triple kill.
Replay.
No
Did it just go
way
through
did you
all
line
of
that
them?
one up.
Oh my god. Oh, they were standing in a straight line.
Best Sojourn player in the league, stats-wise. Hey, add that one to the replay package.
Oh yeah.
Merrick comes out with the first triple kill with the with the overclock in the league. That was just absurd.
Welcome back. We are getting to game. Promise. Soon. Maybe.
We're trying.
We're just waiting for one more player, I think, to jump in the lobby. Toronto Defiant versus the Shanghai Dragons. Hopefully you've got yourself a small drink, maybe a snack, and yeah, excited for the game that's coming up. Rose, yeah, we're going to get into it in just a moment. You said you have a fish fact for me. What is the fish fact?
Okay, so I love this because I believe it is the longest fish name in history. It's also the state fish of Hawaii, and it is called the Humu Humu Nuku Nuku Apua'a. It's a triggerfish, but it's really cool looking. But it is very long of a name, and I like it. There you go.
That is a cool fact, actually. A good topical fact for the Hawaii event. Okay, that's great. I would never pronounce that, Rose. I just look. Props and hats off to you for pronouncing that.
Hey, I studied fish in college. Like that was that was part of my major.
Was the subject title just called fish? You were like, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, well, fish ecology and biology, but yes, there was, So
I don't know why I thought you said fish ecology, and I thought you said fish ecology, like college, fishy college, fish ecology. Don't know why. I felt like it's getting late, but it's not even that late right now. I mean, what time is it for me? It's like 8 p.m. It's not that late. It doesn't feel that late, but I don't know. Maybe it's the pause. Maybe it is Mr. Pause King. I'm trying to call him out in the group chat. It's not happening. He may be asleep already. I wouldn't be surprised with you. I blame Seth. Everybody should just blame Seth for this one.
It's not our fault. That's all I have to say is that, you know what? It's not our fault.
Yeah. So, finale. He just entered the lobby. I just saw. But it looks like maybe both teams are going to be ready in just a moment. Let's have a look at the updated brackets, though, before we get into this game. But don't worry, we're almost there. There you go, the updated bracket. Would you look at that, how magical that was. Started off the day pretty crazy, actually. Spitfire versus Rain 3-1 and a 3-0 for Houston Outlaws and the Mayhem. Remember, there is a loser's bracket, so the teams that do lose here today will fight through the lower bracket all the way up to that finals if they do make it there. But I see the lobby chat, and I see our God tier admins, and I see the God tier players in the lobby too, looking like everybody's about to be ready and jumping into the game. Again, very much apologize for the pause, but we should be good to go.
Yeah, very excited. I know it's been a little while since we did the intro of both of these teams, so let's just catch everybody up to speed real quick with a refresher. We've got Illios as our first map of the series. Shanghai Dragons, of course, and Toronto Defiant being our first clash of the East versus the West. Shanghai has really been looking at Wrecking Ball and Winston compositions, but Toronto looking a lot at the Doomfist because that's been looking really, really good for them. Maybe there's some surprise factor here, but Jaws, as we also stated, Shanghai Dragons are looking really good coming into this tournament.
They've been looking super good. Like we mentioned before as well, Toronto Defiant, they need to step up to the Dragons level. They're incredibly mid right now, both physically and literally and metaphorically, I suppose. Their performance has been wavering throughout the season, but this is really where you want to come alive, right? I think a lot of the players, especially people like Twilight, Hisu, they've been in these situations before, these big tournament situations, these playoff kind of situations. That veterancy is very much going to lend to a lot of their rookies on the team.
I agree with that, absolutely. And you're going to see them kind of start to rely on some of those pieces that have really worked for them. You know, Twilight's Ana has been such a staple and the backbone, really, for Toronto's team as a whole. And so the fact that they get to rely on that more throughout this stage as they do look at more of the Winston and the Doomfist as the center of their composition, I think that's going to set Toronto Defiant up here for as much success as possible.
No way. Fate just managed to get back on the edge. It's all good. Chorong almost got Twilight. Unbelievable kill on the Wrecking Ball, but Izyaki's actually the first one to fall. Fate still pretty low, receives a cookie from Lee Jae-gon to heal him back up, but the Toronto Defiant off to a decent start as the point unlocks and they find the first cap.
Yeah, look at that. Their audio issues all fixed, and they look like they're ready to rumble here. Shanghai Dragons walk away with a lot of ultimate charge, though, and especially when you look at how much disruption Fate on the Wrecking Ball has been putting into the back line. I think Chorong and Twilight are going to need to watch out here, which is why you end up seeing Chorong kind of playing a little bit more forward to try to make sure that Twilight isn't left alone.
Lip forced to recall, already pretty low. He's got the orb on him, but Muse was there to pick up the pieces. Nice dive by the Toronto Defiant front line. However, they do end up trading. It is now a 2v3 with Twilight still alive. Should be good for the Toronto Defiant, but Fate cleans him up. One-man wrecking crew right now is Fate. Maybe even another kill. No, not quite. Muse hangs on for dear life as Toronto Defiant just continue to hold. Building up towards that nano boost, this should be a pretty easy fight.
Yeah, that's awesome. They have a great rotation coming up here with the Nano, of course. Maybe you get the Primal Rage for Muse, and of course that overclock on Hisu is something else that you're looking at here. It's going to be a great rotation for them if they find value here.
Should go pretty fast. There we go. There's the Nano onto Muse, straight to the backline. He's getting bobbed around, but Twilight finding a kill onto Fled is going to be nice. A Primal Rage from Muse. Doesn't get the knockoff onto Lee Jae-gon, neither does Fate. However, him just with his Nano Fist, clean him up just with the damage. Toronto Defiant holding firm. Shanghai Dragon's backline just getting crunched right now.
But that's exactly the weak point that Toronto Defiant have found. They have identified that Izayaki and Lee Jae-gon are going to be integral. They just got to take him out now, so that's been great.
Nicely, Twilight was just hanging around trying to find an early anti on the backline and set up another die, but Shanghai Dragons actually went cage side on right. Now looking for that health back, pulse bomb available. There's the beat, hits 4. Doesn't quite land on Muse. He might need a little bit of extra support. Shanghai Dragons pop the dupe. A pulse bomb from Finale, force the Transcendence on Izayaki. A double kill with the leap. Fleder goes to the monkey, gets both supports of the Toronto Defiant. And that will be the Shanghai Dragons winning that fight. Was quite expensive. Forcing that Transcendence from Izayaki was stellar. Toronto Defiant now come in with 99% on the board.
Yeah, that's great. You know, Toronto Defiant, they said, hey, we've got such a massive lead over the Dragons, and while that fight ended up being expensive ultimate-wise, that they're okay. You know, Twilight's been doing a lot of damage, a lot of healing. Look at how Twilight has Fleda in their scope. And that Nano's definitely going to be coming online very quickly to get Muse back up to another Primal Rage.
Yeah, it's only 20% away. It's whether they can actually stay alive long enough. Rally available for the Shanghai Dragons. Muse touched down there to Earth and just got obliterated. The Shanghai Dragons with nice focus fire take down the Winston, take down the rest of Toronto, and will continue to hold the point. However, they did use Rally in that fight, and they got to deal with this Nano Winston coming up.
Yeah, they do, but look at how much territorial control Shanghai Dragons can take with the Pulse Bomb from Lip, and of course also the mines coming in from Fate. That's just so much crowd control, and I worry that if Lip is able to grab a nice pick onto the backline here, Toronto really going to struggle to get back in this game.
These are going pretty low. Lip lining up for a pulse bomb. Connects it to summon. I think that was the shield, so didn't get all of anything. Mines were used by Fate, so 2 ultimates already down. Nano Winston strays the backline. Lee Jae-gon didn't stand a chance, and neither does Izayaki unless he can get a boop kill. Ain't gonna happen though. Muse with a nice 2-piece, but Fleder and Lip even at the table. 3-on-3 on the point with Fate cleaning up these kills. Twilight and Chorong now dead. Muse is on his own, but has a Primal Rage to rely on if he really needs it. Tries to jump straight forward towards the Tracer. Bobs the Primal to guarantee the kill as 90% for the Dragons is building up towards that elusive 99. The Toronto Defiant, their supports are going to make their way back to the point just in time, but it's going to be a scrappy final fight with Fleder changing into the Tracer. 20% away is that Pulse Bomb. There he is. Earned it. Can he land this stick? That's the question. Twilight's in his sights. The Sleep Dart misses. The stick connects. and Twilight goes down. A nice return kill by Muse, killing off the Lucio, but the Shanghai Dragons still in control. Toronto Defiant don't want to get swept here on this first round. Remember, Shanghai Dragons flipped over at 99% for Toronto when they had 0. A Transcendence for the Dragons to keep them in, but another Pulse Bomb lands for the Dragons. It's Lip this time. He takes care of Chorong. And the Toronto Defiant, they did find the recap, but Dragons win the fight and win the round.
Whew, boy, that was super scrappy. I felt like that last fight was going on for forever, but Shanghai Dragons, time and time again, just had everybody on Toronto Defiant's number. They knew exactly who they were going after, really nice focus fire coming in, and I don't know, you know, I feel like when Toronto used all of their ultimates, they just weren't able to get back on track in time to really be able to deal with Shanghai catching up. It was a tough one.
It was a clean, I want to say reverse sweep, but that normally entails the entire series, but it was. I mean, 99%. Dragons flipped over when they had 0. Like, feels pretty good. Toronto did have, well, they had some nice engagements very early on. That's how they were able to hold the point for so long, just the execution onto Izayaki Lijigon. But look at this, Rose. They're actually just going to mirror the Dragons on the ball and the Ash.
Wow, well, I mean, if you look at this and you look at how long Shanghai Dragons has been playing Lip on the Ash and Fate on the Wrecking Ball, this is looking real good for the Dragons right now. I think Toronto's going to have to be very careful.
Yeah, Dragons very much a master of this composition. Twilight does find 1 kill, but the Shanghai Dragons just running around Toronto right now, Rose. I mean, something that you talked about in the preamble leading up to the game. I know it was a very long time ago, it feels like, but wait, Muse finds 2 kills. Hang on a second, hold that thought. What I was going to say is that you want to force Twilight into a pick that is not the Ana, and they've done just that. Although Toronto Defiant keeping themselves in this fight with the hands of Muse right now, as they've prevented the Shanghai Dragons from capping. In fact, facing a little bit of trouble. Nice little bit of tech there. Jumps to the high ground, but with Twilight killing Fleta, Toronto Defiant, they're going to cap first.
Well, this is good news for them. You know, they were able to get up to 99% on that first round, and that was off the back of some really nice defensive play, just stopping Shanghai Dragons from really grabbing those attacks.
Wow.
Like, look at that. Twilight with a huge pick onto Izayaki to continue to rack up that percentage. I mean, that's just huge, Jaws. Shanghai, like this, they've got to be able to sneak past a lot of this damage that's coming their way, and maybe they'll be able to grab the point and then do the reverse sweep, I guess, as we want to call it.
Oh, what an unbelievable dive there. Pile driver with the tracer damage following up. Izayaki dies, and look at the ult disparity between the Zenyatas. Like 64% to Twilight having the Transcendence. Not so much anymore as he used it to push Toronto Defiant forward. Not bad. Nice little stick too. Finale looking pretty good. Shanghai Dragons are going to have to go again. But yeah, you are right, Rose. They don't want to get they don't want a 99-0 situation again. Let's be real with ourselves. Maybe they just lose a fight here and just go, okay, we'll just go again. We don't look. Maybe it got into our heads last round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Toronto still looked really good in that first round, but now we're looking at Shanghai Dragons working up to a full slate of ultimates. They're choosing. They could go in with the mines here. Lip also has the Bob. That's an extra person on point now.
Bob, the 6th man. He's online. The rally should be good enough for the time being, but with Twilight going down, they lose that Discord orb. It's really tough to take down Fate. And in fact, Bob looked like he capped the point. Did his work. Clocked in, clocked out, he's gone. Shanghai Dragons now in control.
Yep, he did something, but look at that. Finale is still wreaking havoc in the backline of the Shanghai Dragons. So, wow, we did see Bob cap the point. Jaws, it's not over just yet. I think Toronto's going to come back in this one.
I don't think Shanghai Dragons are paying Bob enough, that's for sure. Yeah, Finale doing Lord's work there. Getting a nice little double kill. Toronto Defiant, they do lose that fight, but end up getting the recap pretty quickly. Now, Hisu's got the Bob. I was going to mention that he was very far behind Lip a moment ago, but That's just going to be more beneficial for this final fight. They don't have any support ultimates. They may have Pulse Bomb, and they're going against 2 support ultimates from the Dragons. Bob on the point to contest is going to get focused if they're not careful, but look at the suppressing fire onto Lee Jae-gon. Has to back all the way up. That overhealth isn't actually extending over to the rest of the team, and look at that. Lee Jae-gon, Lip, Izayaki are going to go down, and as overtime ticks through, it's up to Fleder and Fate to try and keep this point contested. Finale's just hunting him down, 60 HP. A Pulse Bomb doesn't even need a dream as a round is completed by Toronto, and they tie Illios up 1 apiece.
Look at that too. Hey, if Bob can do something like half the point, or he can do something by zoning everybody else off. So that actually worked out great for Hisu to have that Bob come online secondarily to Lips. But we're heading over to Lighthouse now, and we're seeing some maybe interesting things happen here.
Give me the Bob replay. Oh, it's the Twilight replay.
Yeah, of course. It's Twilight just sniping.
Ooh. Certified nasty angle there. Good
oh,
stuff.
poor Izayaki. You just don't want to be peeking that.
Well, yeah, that's rough.
But I don't know how much you expect that to happen.
Exactly, yeah. It's like 3 pixels wide. The orb just slots in between it perfectly.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's really tough. You've got to know that this ends on Mega Pack, and you're like, oh, maybe I get right-clicked here, but not something that you can really counteract a lot of the time. All right. 3rd and final round for Illios. They're trying to set up something cheeky with Fate. Yeah, they found both supports. Look at this peel, though, coming out from Chorong right now, protecting Twilight. No recall available from Lip. He gets chased down. Hisu finds the final blow, and there, Fleder again trying to set up something with the rest of his team, just unable to do so.
Yeah, I mean, just look at how much consistent damage is coming out from Toronto right now, especially when Hisu is able to play the Ashe. That's why we look at the Ashe versus the Sojourn right now, and we look at Ashe as having a bit more of that damage output just because you don't have to charge up those shots. But Shanghai, they're playing a very divey composition instead of that poke, and that's why you play the dive.
Nice dive onto Hisu. They shouldn't be in too much trouble. It's only Wrecking Ball versus Wrecking Ball. Still needs a little bit of help, however. Point is in control of Toronto Defiant, of course. Choron going down. This should be an easy cleanup. Nice dive onto Hisu on the high ground rows. A bit more difficult for Twilight and Choron to pocket him out there.
Yeah, you do have the Brigitte, which allows you to have at least more of that long range, as well as, of course, the Orb of Harmony. But I think you're still looking at that being a bit difficult when you are fighting against heroes on Shanghai Dragons that can just chunk you down so fast. Lip can one-clip you to the point where you're below half health, and then Fleda can just go in with a focusing beam and finish you off. So you've got to be very careful as a Defiant to not get caught out on your own.
All right. Dragons once again trying to clear Hisu off the high ground as Fate and Muse just tackle this point. Both explosive ultimates are online, that Pulse Bomb and the Mines, but this Pulse Bomb gets something done a little bit quicker as Hisu ends up falling. And now the execution of the dive onto Izayaki, but you're not going to be quite so lucky. Not when Lee Jae-gon is right next to him. Easy 2v1. Twilight kicking 3 people away from him, but you still have to deal with that Brig. Sun? All right, 54% now in building rows.
Yeah, Shanghai is definitely keeping control of this point, but Toronto and Shanghai right now are looking at 4 ultimates apiece. Izayaki might also just get a big pick here.
Transcendence, a lot of ult spots from the Shanghai Dragons. They lose Lee Jae-gon pretty early. Those mines to waylay the Toronto Defiant, but they trade Transcendence for Rally. Izayaki's pretty low, Lee Jae-gon and Twilight. The supports with the ult right now. Trying to Defiant, put themselves on the point already, but it should be contested pretty easily. There we go. Fleder's in, making moves. Change into the Wrecking Ball. 50% ultimate charge already off of 1 slam. Swings right back around. Now he's trying to help Fate. Double Wrecking Ball on the field. There's a dirty joke there, but I'm not going to say it. The Shanghai Dragons are 95%, building up to 100s. They just clear the mines off of the point. Fleta transforms back into Echo. Bob is dealt with, and now Toronto Defiant trying to get back in time. They're not so lucky. Couldn't even get that Transcendence off. The Shanghai Dragons off to a massive start.
Yeah, that looked really clean from the Shanghai Dragons for that third round. But honestly, I just feel like both of these teams, when they're able to play in their lane, they're going to perform really well here. We saw great moments from Toronto Defiant when we look at how Ruins went, and also just the first round of Illios overall was really close. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen for the rest of this series.
Yeah, I look forward to maybe avoiding Lip. Let's send that one right over. Sign Johnny to the Toronto Defiant. We'll see how much that ends up working out, because right now, not quite so lucky is the Toronto Defiant. Dragons off to a good start. We'll see you after this break for map number 2. Welcome back. Toronto Defiant and the Shanghai Dragons kicking us off here in day number 1 of the Midseason Madness. The first time we're seeing the East teams versus the West teams. Eichenwalde is our next map. It is loser's pick, so Toronto Defiant selected that one.
Yeah, love it. Maybe get to play some Doomfist, maybe a bit more Winston. Definitely something that's up Toronto Defiant's alley. We've seen them perform really well in Eichenwalde so far, and maybe that's just what Toronto needs to make Shanghai just a little uncomfortable to give them more of an edge in this series.
Yeah, it does look like we're heading straight into the map. Yeah, no substitutions either, Rose, so we are seeing just like for like. I don't think there's going to be many during this series, but we can all hope and pray. Have to wait and see if any team has got some wacky strats coming out of the gate for this one. But I think like you said, Rose, it's going to be some more Doomfist for Muse.
I think so. I mean, Muse didn't look bad on the Winston either or the Wrecking Ball. I think there were definitely some great moments on both of those hero picks in that first map, but I think that when you look at how Muse has been performing over the past few weeks, it's really been that Doomfist that Toronto Defiant has been super comfortable with, so I'd love to see the Doomfist here. Yeah,
there you go. You got your wish. Doomfist, yeah. Twilight on Ana, Chorong on the Zen, he's on the Ashe. Okay. Yeah, not doing it too bad whatsoever. And then Twilight gets to also play his hero that he is very much known for in the Ana. This is the look of the Toronto Defiant I think a lot of people were expecting him to play almost permanently in the Midseason Madness.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Twilight, again, is one of the best Anas that we have in the league right now. And then, of course, when you're able to use all of these pieces, like, it works out well. This is what Toronto Defiant is really good at. We've seen other teams that look for these very strong moments, like London Spitfire. Great example. Reinhardt Rush. That's what they're good at. That's what they're going to excel at when they get a chance to play it. So really nice look from Toronto Defiant so far to play in that comfortability. But Shanghai switching things up here as we see them come out of their spawn doors with the Sojourn and the Zarya here.
Damn. Is Yaki going to be looking those spawn doors again in just a moment? That was a nice little dive there from Toronto Defiant. Yeah, I really like the Zarya pick. You can save a lot of people from not only the antis, but obviously the Doomfist as well. Quite beneficial when your backline can sometimes be crunched quite quickly. Although with a Brig and an Ana, it's not the worst. Okay, wow. Didn't see that one coming.
I don't think Hisu did either. Oh. Right.
Well, Flake, ooh, slept. Got a bubble off just in time. However, anti-nades are being flung. Another nice headshot by Liv. Now just jumping straight up onto the high ground to try and dissuade the rest of Toronto Defiant. Liv just extending this fight for the Shanghai Dragons. Should be pretty easy to clean up. They got 2 ticks already. Finale tried to get the assassination. The one clip in the back ain't gonna work. Liv with a right click and a melee took him down. Hisu trying to get a little bit of damage in, but Twilight actually from the high ground still existing. Not for long enough though, unfortunately, as the Shanghai Dragons do end up capping point A.
Chorong is like quickly backing off here as well. Gave that Orb of Harmony over just to see if Twilight could survive a little bit longer and eat some time off of the clock, but ultimately, yeah, Shanghai Dragons gonna go ahead and cap that first point, open up these doors and get the payload rolling. Look at how Toronto Defiant have already set themselves up on the high ground as well to be able to take that advantage as Finale looks for a target with this Pulse Bomb.
Yeah, I guess. It's nice to have the high ground, I suppose.
Yeah,
it was like,
nice.
Don't worry, guys, we've got height. It's fine. All good. All right, Finale with the Pulse. Just trying to chill out right now. They don't want to give Fate any free space. If Fate gets up to height and then can pocket Lip and Flutter, it can be quite devastating. Izayaki too, to be fair. Flutter's trying to make it inroad. Spots targets to Pulse, but instantly hits that recall. Doesn't want to get a headshot on melee. Now he's even getting checked by the rest of Toronto. But look at that. Now they're slowly just getting Izayaki and Lijigun on this high ground, Rose.
Yeah, well, you have to, because how else are you really going to contend against Twilight and also nice stick?
Wow. Tracer really does love the pulse bomb. It's kind of crazy. Nice kill onto Fate. Nano onto Muse. He spotted a victim. It is Izayaki. And Nano, in fact, in return onto Lib, doesn't really get anything done with it at all. Maybe a bit of poke damage, but not much else. Didn't even combine it with Overclock as the fight was already over. It's a bit of a wasted ultimate as Muse just takes care of the rest.
Well, I think Izayaki, with that Nano, was really hoping that Lib would be able to do something with it, right? Maybe you don't have to charge up those shots as fast, and you can just kind of take that extra little punch of damage and try to make something happen. But Muse knows how to punch.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that transition, but let's talk about Muse real fast, because he basically cleaned up the fight, and he might just do it again.
Yeah, kind of crazy control Muse has right now, I will say. Yeah, he punched Fate into that small room, took him out, easy peasy. But it started off with Hisu actually headshotting Izayaki on top of that. So
yeah.
Trying to find in a good spot. Muse looking for another engage. As Meteor Strike as a get out of jail free card. And in the small rooms too, can be quite devastating. Nice little leap cancel. Now they're just chasing it down to the high ground. There is the Bob. Hisu gets dealt with, but there's still 5 people online for the Defiant. Bob putting down a ton of damage, but Lip and Fleta are going to match that and more as the Shanghai Dragons just take control of this high ground.
It was a really nice attempt from Toronto, kind of using the Bob to make sure that Shanghai Dragons were in a position where Muse might be able to get some big picks with that Meteor Strike, but the way that Shanghai Dragons use those cooldowns just to stay alive is why they are coming out ahead in this fight, where it looked like Fate was going to go down, but had those bubbles, Lee Jae-gon had the rally, and now we're looking at this where Shanghai, Fate can just go ahead and use the Graviton Surge at the door.
Got to deal with Muse first. Nice little punch. There's the grab. It didn't get anybody, in fact. Maybe someone on the other side of the wall? Nope. Not at all. Oh, Fate's getting kicked. Oh, he got kicked off the edge. Oh, my God. You got to be happy with yourself if you're Chorong right now. 2 pulse bombs. They do trade. Looking good, though, with Toronto Defiant on the point. And, yeah, there's those Zen buffs coming in for you. Kicking the Zarya straight off the map.
Oh my God. Hey, I thought Zarya worked out, but clearly it's the Zenyatta that's working out just a little bit more there. I mean, this is really big, though, for Toronto because they got the Pulse Bomb out of Fleta. They're actually forcing Fate off of the Zarya as well. We're going to see Fate switch over to the Wrecking Ball here. It does get you towards that second point just a little bit faster. There's just so much ground to cover, so you're hoping that these dives will be a little bit faster.
Wow, Muse's health bar disappeared in a blink of an eye just then. Straight up to the bar. Nope, decides not today. Yeah, even that's a little bit too much damage, even if you have the damage resist from the Nano. Still want to control height. The Shanghai Dragons have 40 seconds to go to put the payload in. It's so close. I guess ideally you want to be able to force it somehow, force the Toronto Defiant's positioning, but it looks like Dragons are happy with just taking high ground. Lib's got a perfect shot he could line up with the Transcendence from the Toronto Defiant, keeping everybody alive. But they're going to C9! There it is! Oh, what did I say? Put pressure on the payload to force the positioning of the Toronto Defiant, and that's exactly what happened. But they didn't force anything, because the Shanghai Dragons just hit him with a fat C9.
Well, that's the West region for you, for those of you that are unfamiliar with how the West region operates. Sometimes they just leave the payload alone. So here we are, 3rd point, Eichenwalde. Shanghai Dragons moving towards that final destination.
It very much feels like you should be used to getting C9 at this point. Not necessarily the Toronto Defiant, but the West region. But
yeah.
There we go.
That's not new.
Yeah, very, like, the last couple of weeks have just been a blur of C9s and just, I don't know, just random games. A minute to go for the Dragons, though, Rose. Got a fair few tools, or at least a few tools coming up. Good stick. Finale with the recall. Lee Jae-gon goes down, and Shanghai Dragons cannot waste another small push. They're going to have to go again. That rally is too valuable.
Absolutely. And look, you might even be able to get Izayaki up to the nano boost as well. So that's another tool in the Shanghai Dragons' back pocket. But what is this?
Oh, nice.
Ichigon was not alive yet. Why the pulse bomb and the mines here, Dragons?
Yeah, a bit of a overinvestment. Nice bit of tech there by Muse. Puts the power block up, gets the powered up punch from the mine damage. Again, started off with one of the supports getting a pick. Toronto Defiant's Chorong. Managed to find a right-click onto Fletter, and now Muse is holding super far up. Rally to start off the fight, however, the Bob is going to waylay the Dragons for just a short amount of time. I say that, he's now napping on the job. Liv does get punched into the wall as every ultimate and then some is thrown in. Twilight does end up falling down, not before wasting a lot of that overclock sent out by Lip. Muse into the back line, takes care of Izzyaki, so Dragons now only have one support remaining. So to Toronto Defiant, but the healing output from that Transcendence is all too good. Chorong does fall as he comes out of the trance. As the Toronto Defiant now, health bars are dwindling as the Dragons remain in control of the point. OT is here, spawn advantage to the Toronto Defiant. It's going to be good though, Rose.
It's going to be good, I think, for Shanghai Dragons. Fate's working up to those mines. Just going to go ahead and throw those on the point, if they even need them.
Goes down, Chorong to follow in an OT. Shanghai Dragons managed to cap that point at the very end. That looked bad when Izzyaki went down, and that rally really did help him at the end of it.
Not going to say that this was because Shanghai Dragons got a back cap. But I do think we would be in a very different situation if Toronto Defiant had not let that back cap happen.
Yeah. We all...
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, unfortunately, we're jumping into a brief pause. I guess Toronto pondering what happened with that C9, but yeah, that's. I think that's what a lot of people were thinking over the last couple of weeks. With the amount of C9s that did happen. I mean, the Gibraltar game, I think we casted that one, was potentially the most horrendous lot of C9s I've ever seen.
What, 4?
With
How
London.
many did you write on that cardboard?
It was like 3, I think. 3 or 4.
Oh, yeah, just that map?
Stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's burned into a lot of people's memories right now. Yeah, does
I was
it
trying to forget about that. Thanks for bringing that back up.
Yeah, sorry. My bad. Yeah. I don't know. Well, you know, some of the... Maybe the viewers out there that only watch the APAC broadcast maybe should be informed of what happened in the last couple of weeks of North America. It's just C9 after C9 after C9 by London Spitfire and against London Spitfire. It was a crazy time. Looks like Twilight might be having a couple of small issues. So again, apologies for the brief pause. I know Seth's not here. We can't blame him, but I'm going to blame him in spirit. There we go.
Yeah. It's not our fault. That's all we want you to know, chat. It's not our fault. Casters can't actually start the game, by the way.
That's true. I mean, there's definitely a point now where people don't actually believe that. Although, to be fair, way back when was this? Like 6+ years ago when I first started. I was technically in control of the lobby, so I could do that, but not so much anymore.
You're not supposed to tell people that. Don't give them ammo for that.
Don't give them ammo. Well, they can flame me from 6 years ago. That's fine. I don't really mind that too much. Okay, Lip looking pretty good on the Sojourn thus far. 50% railgun actually, not bad. But look at that, 2 deaths, 12 final blows. Yeah, that's not dying and then some.
Yeah, that's nutty. That's really, really good. And, you know, we talk about a lot of times who's leading the Sojourn leaderboards in the West. But we do have to look at the Sojourns that are at the top of the leaderboards in the East as well. And Lip is definitely one of those players that can perform well on whether it's the Ashe, the Sojourn. We've even seen Cassidy come out from Lip as well. It's just been really great to see that flexibility and also the impact that this particular player has been having on this team.
Yeah, well, I mean, avoiding, as Johnny said, maybe Toronto Defiant had been doing that because the amount of deaths would
would indicate.
Yeah, exactly. It would indicate that pretty well, I think. There we go. Yeah, like I mentioned before, we are in a brief pause, but we should be good to go in just a moment. I guess, yeah, we are kind of catching up to the rest of the APAC broadcasters' pauses and stuff like that, so... Yeah, got to get our time in somehow.
Yeah.
And it is quite funny, Rose. If Seth is the king of pauses, then I think we are the king of C9s. That would be quite the title, considering that London game on Gibraltar, I will say.
I don't know if I want that title, but I think it is an honorary title that we have now acquired as we look at the C9, because we can talk about it all day, but I feel like we need to show it.
Might as well.
Will you show it again?
Fleda do be chilling. I think he's going to emote there. That is the most BMC9 of all, just emoting on payload. Oh man, that's real rough. And just as I spoke about pressure in the payload too, it's almost like he read my mind. Perfect stuff. It's quite I wouldn't say it's like an egregious amount of distance away, but still doesn't have the numbers on the screen, so it's yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's not that bad. I mean, you know, tracers can sometimes be slippery, very mobile, so maybe they just kind of sneak past you, but we've seen some egregious C9s.
Yeah,
we have.
There's got to be some sort of tier list maker out there right now that has a list of all C9s that have like links to the C9s. They're just.
You know what we need?
What's
you know
that?
what we need? You know how we have the player hydration list of what players have taken drinks of water? What teams have been victims of C9s?
Oh God, there's got to. That I don't know how you could build that into the stats, but if there was a way, it definitely should be built in at this point. But I think most teams have fallen victim to a C9 at one point in the Overwatch League. There's gotta be. Yeah, surely every team is C9'd at one point, or like been C9'd. There has to be. There can't be a team that is just strictly immune to C9s. But that would just take an unbelievable amount of research on like on how many C9s each team
Someone's done it though. I feel like someone out there has actually done this.
Yeah. It was a lot harder too, actually, to be fair, in Overwatch 1, because there was more players, so like it was way harder to C9. Because you were just like, well,
that's true.
You just have the diva or whatever sit on the payload, so, or near the payload. So I guess in Overwatch 2, you could argue because there's less players, it is easier to C9. Is that headsets on heads? Looks like it. Are the lads ready? Maybe. Hopefully we'll get into the game in just a moment. Yeah, sorry for the brief pause once again. Should be good to go then.
Well, at least if you're just tuning in, you haven't missed much. 1.5 maps.
There you go.
In our first of 3.
We paused for you, person that just tuned into the stream. We paused for you.
Exactly.
Imagine me pointing at you and going, we paused for you. There you go. All good.
Well.
Yeah, I mean, look, if not, we can just go back to fish facts again. Or, we can talk about the sharks that kind of chill around Hawaii. I'm down for that. You know what is a cool looking shark which has a giant wingspan? Well, I say wingspan, fin span. Oceanic white tips. Their fin span it looks huge. They're quite cute looking sharks. All thresher sharks are quite cute looking. They've got a giant tail that they use as like it's like a whip, and it just cracks in the water, and they use that to stun fish, which is pretty sweet.
That is really cool how some animals have adapted to actually use like that electrosensory against other animals. Because like that's just the shock of like the tail hitting the water is enough sometimes to stun a fish like that.
It is pretty cool. They are pretty sweet. Oh my god. I see the chat in game. People are R. Everybody is R?
R?
Why like R? Fate. R. TY.
I'm R.
Everybody's R. I'm pausing. Okay, we're unpausing. We're getting back into the game. Don't worry. Don't worry. Hopefully, that didn't take the steam out of the sails, or the wind out of the sails. I guess you could blow steam into the sails.
Steam out of the payload?
That would work. Yeah, the gas out of the payload. I don't know. But regardless, we are going back into the game. It's going to be Shanghai Dragons now on the defense. And yeah, an OT cap for the Dragons in that previous round.
Yep, that's right. So Toronto here can cap all 3 points, and as long as they get over a minute left in the time bank to do that, then that's a winnable situation for them. And that might tie up the series, and then we get to go into extra maps, and definitely looking towards that. But we've got another replay here, and this is
the
news.
Kick.
No, punch.
Look at him go!
Fade into Chorong's loving kick.
It's still so silly. And like, oh, nice little bird shot. That was cool. I still think it feels a little bit weird playing against the Zen with a kick, because you're always like, oh yeah, there's no, you know, you're on the edge of the map, you're like, oh, there's no Lucio, and then you remember, oh yeah, Zen got that buff where he can just kick people off and he gets 50% damage. Like, if it was like, a lot of people are used to it at this point, but still, it's a little bit surprising when it does happen. If you're on the receiving end of it, you're like, oh yeah, he can kick me away. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
4 minutes in the time bank. Toronto Defiant on the same comp. Just going to run Hisu on the Ashe and Muse on the Doomfist.
Yeah, but take a look at Shanghai Dragon's defense here. They've already switched things up a little bit. Fate's on the Winston to kick things off for this defense, and I really like that because I feel like when we see Shanghai Dragons play some of these more divey compositions on the defense, they're able to hold on really strong because basically you're waiting for cooldowns to come in and then get shots like that.
Yeah, unreal shot. Nice little body block there from Lijigon protecting Izayaki, who is suffering from a little bit of burn damage. Yeah, Lip has just been on fire on this Sojourn already.
Yeah, it's been looking great. I mean, Lip at this point has a lot that he can kind of charge off of. I feel like, especially when Muse is powering up to jump in, that's a really nice charge battery to kind of refresh your shots here. But Hisu also can just get some nice consistent damage in, especially if you can avoid that Winston bubble altogether.
Oh, nice headshot. Can he finish it off? Oh, the choke! Oh, it was 1 HP. That would have been such a nice pick for Hisu to find, but luckily quick things on the supports from the Dragons to keep Lip alive. Couldn't quite get it onto Fleta, however, who does end up going down. Izayaki looking immortal there for a second, as Muse was nanoed straight into him. Lee Jae-gon could probably take this 1v1, but maybe not the 2v1. Muse is sub 60 HP, ends up killing Lip as the Shanghai Dragons fall over, and the Toronto Defiant will unlock the payload.
Nice quick cap for them as well. So Toronto, they're also walking away with quite a bit. They didn't have to use much there at all. I mean, even Twilight chose Lucio just to try to get back a little bit faster, but ultimately going back over to the Ana because that spawn is so much closer now. But Shanghai Dragons already getting set up on that high ground, as we often see teams do. And with Lip having the overclock already, Jaws, this might be tough for Toronto to fight to get past.
Yeah, somebody pretty scary run into him, that's for sure, on the best of days. Well, they got 2 pulse bombs to kind of deal with him. Maybe Finale gets a pulse bomb on him, but quite unlikely. Just hunting for the support, I can imagine. Payload still moving. Finale setting up for a dive on the high ground. Spots both supports, lobs in the pulse. Doesn't quite get much. I think maybe that was a stick or some sort of connection, and Lee Jae-gon just managed to bash it away, so it didn't connect. There is the overclock from Lip. Muse goes so far low. And nice double headshot. Maybe go triple. Chorong in the way.
Oh.
Fleta takes 1 kill. Lip doesn't want to tussle with the Bob. But the Shanghai Dragons DPS cleaning up.
Yeah, Lip's also just trying to pay mind over to Chorong as well. You just don't really want to be in that Zenyatta sight lines. But now at least Toronto, they've gotten a few of those heavy-hitting ultimates out of the Dragons, and they can really use this Transcendence, not reactively, but maybe more proactively to try to keep themselves in an aggressive stance to get past the Dragons and the stronghold that they have on this high ground.
Yeah, maybe they can use it to... Oh, there it is.
Or, okay.
Okay.
Get away.
He do be kind of chilling, though. That's about it. Hisu dies to a headshot. Chorong with a nice kick away from onto the Winston. Does save himself for the time being. In fact, gets nanoed by Twilight to keep him in the fight. A sleep dart onto Fate, who is also a nano. We'll send him to the ground for the time being. A little punch, but a Primal Rage pop for Fate is going to keep him alive and well in this fight. Still the perma pocket on Chorong to keep Toronto Defiant nice and healthy. Finale was sleeping just for a moment, but it's actually Fleta who's now sleeping with the fishes as the Toronto Defiant now try and take control of this castle. Finale forced to recall as the Meteor Strike crashes down to earth and kills Lee Jae-gon. His punches from Muse looking so good right now. Izayaki forced into the front line of Toronto, cleaned up, and the Dragons are now going to have to defend on the bridge.
What a nice example, though, of how Muse's Doomfist has been so impactful for Toronto Defiant as a whole. I mean, I definitely wouldn't want to be against a Doomfist in those close corridors of that castle, but especially not against Muse. You could see how much trouble the Dragons were having, even though Izayaki actually landed asleep. But where are the Dragons now? They've got to come back in and contest here, and Fate's already gone.
Yeah, so's Lee J gone. Another pulse bomb from Flutter. Transcendence. Hey, honestly, maybe you just die there if you're Chorong, to be honest. Like, don't even waste the Transcendence. Of course, that was like a split-second decision-making thing, but yeah, Flutter throws away the pulse bomb. Point capped for Toronto. 2 minutes and 50 seconds, Rose. You were saying they just need more than a minute and they should be good, and look at this. They might end up with more than 2 if they're lucky.
Wow, I mean, they definitely could just roll through this. Twilight's getting the nano online, but Lip overclock.
Yeah, okay. I spoke maybe a little bit too soon there. Yeah, Chorong and Muse end up going down. The overclock does clean up the rest. Dragons still in a nice position. They have 2 support ultimates coming up in just a moment.
That's going to be good for them as long as they don't have to layer them on top of each other. Hopefully the Nano is able to get one of those bigger ultimates up online. Maybe you save it, use it to save somebody. But I'm really looking at Lee Jae-gon's rally as kind of the biggest factor in maybe winning this next team fight, especially because at this point, if you're Shanghai Dragons, you just want to stall out Toronto Defiant long enough that if they are going to cap all 3 points, they do it with no time in the bank, or less than a minute.
Glad to hear that recall pretty early on in that fight. That Bob doing an unbelievable amount of work. Flutter is still behind the team, and Bob's just going to be playing doorman right now. There's not much he can really do. He's going to have to wait for that Bob to disappear before he tries to enter the castle. Pulse bomb in the spawn kills Lip as Toronto Defiant with 1 minute and 30 seconds to go are ready to rock and roll. Another nano boost onto Chorong. Look at this. One-man army in the front line. Lee Jae-gon, does he stand a chance? Lucky's got a shield in front of his face and the rally's going off. So Chorong couldn't make quick work of him. In fact, it was the other way around. Lip finishing off with a headshot as soon as that nano ran out. Twilight has been sussed out. No hiding in events for you, I don't think. Although saying that, Muse says they're finding a kill onto Lee Jae-gon, and the payload is near the point. However, with the better spawns, the Shanghai Dragons do win out the fight.
And now, though, Toronto Defiant doesn't really have enough left in the tank, it feels like. Unless Chorong or we see Finale maybe get a big pick, we just need this Transcendence to come online to be able to give Toronto Defiant a better fighting chance in these final moments. It's 45 seconds left, Jaws, and look at where Fleta is positioned right now to try to get a pick before Toronto even move in.
Looking like he's on cams right now, just making sure he knows where everybody from Toronto Defiant is holding down. Pulse bomb, no Transcendence available for Chorong if he wants to save himself. Look, Fleta sneaking up. Target is either Twilight or Chorong here. You can't let Chorong get that Transcendence, of course. He doesn't know how close he is. Pulse available. Stick doesn't go out just yet, but Twilight is now in his sights. But Fleta had to recall so early, they might not be able to do anything. Chorong, in fact, used the Transcendence to push them forward, but Twilight is now already dead. With that Trans out the way, the Shanghai Dragons might be good for a defense. The Pulse comes out from Finale. It's going to be good for a kill, but Lee Jae-gon is there to finish up. 3 seconds to go for the Toronto Defiant, but with a team wipe, the Dragons are going to claim map number 2 and find match point.
Oh my gosh, that overclock from Lip was just nasty. And that was all that Shanghai Dragons really needed in order to seal out this map. It was a close one though, Jaws. I feel like this series overall has been close. Just Shanghai Dragons getting a slight edge over the Toronto Defiant in these first 2 maps.
Yeah, 3 minutes Toronto Defiant had going into that 3rd point. So the Dragons with really, really nice just ultimate usage, like not layering the support ultimates like you were saying, Rose, and then Lip coming up big with the railgun. Who else but Lip, really? Let's jump to a quick break. Do not go anywhere. Map number 3 coming up soon. Welcome back. Tiny British man here with Rose again. We're going to Dorado as our next map, and maybe our final one. In fact, Rose, Toronto Defiant need to be able to get back in the series, and it's been a lot closer, I think, than a lot of people anticipated. Toronto Defiant 6-6 in regular season, very mid, but they're actually giving the Shanghai Dragons a run for their money right now.
It's definitely very close, and I feel like when Toronto Defiant has been losing these team fights, it has a lot to do with the ultimate economy that is available to them, and whether or not they're actually finding value with some of the ultimates that they need to. I do feel like maybe Chorong's transcendences, like the timing of them or what they're used for, haven't been super impactful, and maybe that would be a bit of a difference maker here, but it isn't just the transcendences, right? It's a couple of other things as well, maybe just not seeing like the pulse bombs land or something like that. But Toronto, I think they can get their act together. It is still very close, and maybe this pick of theirs will be what brings them back into this series.
Yeah, loser's pick is always quite nice, although you don't want to be in that loser's situation, but at least then you get to pick a map that you're comfortable with and you practice on, so there is that. But Eichenwalde was also their pick, so maybe a 3-0 to start off their run.
Well, let's not forget the C9. Let's not forget the back cap that happened there. I do think that we would be in a different situation if Toronto had not let that come through. Because if they had won that team fight, I don't think Shanghai Dragons would have had time left to be able to actually capture point 2. But neither here nor there, we are in this situation now.
Yeah. So have a look at what comp they're running. Who's really surprised? Fate's back on the ball. Oh yeah. TP to height. And they're they're TP to low. They're just chilling on the low ground. Fly was already up there, I suppose, so you don't really want to tussle with that. Especially if he has a perma pocket and then Fate is ready, or Muse is ready to dive in.
True. But look at the height that Lip has taken now. You're able to use that coach gun as well just to be able to get up a little bit above the rafters, and you're definitely looking at Twilight right now. And just most of Toronto Defiant to start pushing them back off of this high ground as this cart starts to round the corner. And Toronto, they're definitely making a nice quick pivot here.
Yeah, they really are. And they can just kind of ignore Lip at that distance too. Oh, what a jumping shot by Hisu. 100 energy straight to the dome of Lib. Lib was like kind of ineffective at that range, and like you said, Rose, a rotation for Toronto Defiant, kind of bait slip in. Hisu starts up with the kill. Easy as you like.
Yeah, now you can see Toronto kind of pivot back over to that high ground as they're looking left and right, seeing if Shanghai Dragons are coming behind them, maybe below them from the stairwell. But this is a really nice movement from them. Good rotation once again. Just a collapse.
Yeah, big collapse. Izuyaki. That was an unfortunate nade miss there by Twilight. I saw that. Hit the rafters instead. Lip was also 1 HP for the majority of that fight, so couldn't even do anything with the rest. Oh, that ragdoll. Okay, well, Hisu's dead. I didn't think he expected Lip to just be ADSing around that corner, but got to expect something a little bit suspicious, especially when Lip's full HP. Chorong ends up going down to Fate, and what is quite a turn of fate is the Toronto Defiant now getting forced all the way back. Nice anti-nade onto Fate and to Fletter. Fate gets finished up, but the Shanghai Dragons still moving that payload. It's up to Muse to try and get back to it just in time. 1 meter and a half to go, but Lip finds another kill. Yeah, you see the look on Muse's face there. That should have been an easy cleanup, but the Toronto Defiant end up letting go of that payload, and Shanghai Dragons with a good first point push.
Well, that was tough because Izuyaki was there to back Lip up with that Orb of Discord, so you ended up having the ability to just kind of chunk down Muse, and then, yeah, I think Ash wins that fight 9 times out of 10, especially if you're going to be hitting into the Winston Dome. But now that Shanghai Dragons have taken this high ground advantage away from Toronto as well. Ooh, look at this pincer attack that Shanghai is really grabbing here. You've got the cart covered and also the high ground on the other side.
Yeah, both supports just chilling up on height with Lip. Lip almost has the bob. Feeling pretty good if you're the Shanghai Dragons right now. Toronto Defiant could jump down if they wanted to with that Primal Rage. Transcendence is going to get popped, but Lee Jae-gon was already antied, so Toronto Defiant just take it in their stride. Pulse Bomb does kill Chorong, so they trade the Brigittas, but Flutter still doing a ton of damage. Twilight dropped super low, didn't have those packs to heal him back up, and the Shanghai Dragons taking this into their own hands. Finale's not done just yet. Unleashes that pulse bomb, but something saw a little bit earlier on in the season actually kind of reminds me. Fletcher's been doing it too, is these very late pulse bombs to try and turn these fights, but this time around the Dragons came up big.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes you just see players just kind of use the pulse bomb to just shore up that fight. And so I love that Florida is able to find those types of openings in order to carve out that advantage for the team. And Shanghai Dragons still have so much left in the bank to use here to cap the second point.
Oh, Bob on the high ground. Nice knock up onto Twilight. Perfectly executed. Shanghai Dragons popping the rally. And with 2.5 minutes to go, the payload not too far away from that point. They just have to rely on Li Jigong for the heals. Primal Rage from Muse tore through that overhealth that came from that rally. And the Toronto Defiant are holding on. It's still a Brig, so they're still hard to kill. And with Hisu going down, it's going to make it even more difficult for the Toronto Defiant to hold on. They just got spawns in their favor, and maybe this Nano coming up. Mines to block the entrance to the payload, as Fate now just starts on swinging. It's a nice little defensive countermeasure there from the Toronto Defiant, using the Nano onto Muse, but look, he's just getting focused down, stuck on top of that. Discord, too much damage for him to deal with. The Shanghai Dragons taking these ultimates, the Toronto Defiant is sending out in stride, as they do enter the Foundry stage now of this map.
Yeah, I mean, wow. Flood has been building up to these pulse bombs so quickly as well, and I feel like they come online at just the perfect moments to be able to make sure that these objectives can get captured. And look at the staggers!
Woo. That was almost a sick body block there from Fate. It's not every day. It's not every day you see a body block on a Tracer, but you know, he ended up going down anyway, so it's all good.
Look at that, though. Finale goes down with the pulse bomb. At least Hisu's able to get a bit of revenge onto Lippin. That should slow down the Shanghai Dragons just a little bit. But at this point, Shanghai Dragons, they want to make some type of eco push here. Try to get these ultimates online while also making sure that they don't fall to the Finale pulse bomb when they start moving back in.
Yeah, they really need that Bob. It's been such a useful tool, just clearing high ground or just kind of touching the payload. Speaking of which, both Fate and Flat are on top of it right now, leaving their backline a little bit more vulnerable than they wish. Nijigun does fall to a whip shot of Chorong, and with 2 minutes to go, the Dragons, they don't want to do much, so yeah, there you go, Rose. There's your eco push, I suppose. And they do get the rally for their sins.
Yeah, they're going to have the Pulse Bomb, the Transcendence. I think they're just going to get everything here, especially because Fate's going to build up to those mines so quickly as well. And there's the avoidance of the Pulse Bomb. Big ghost signal for Shanghai Dragons.
That is now chasing Finale down, who's now 1 HP. Oh, I mean, the quad body block. You ain't going to survive that, Muse, unfortunately. The eco push worked out. The Shanghai Dragons pop almost all of their ultimates. They got a Mines coming up and the Transcendence, but it's looking like this Toronto Defiant are on their last legs. They need this rally online. 99%, there it is. Can they actually get the overhealth on Muse in time? Not quite so lucky. That shield bash sends you flying nowadays, but the rally still takes time to build up, and Muse ended up going down. The Mines to block the door. Shanghai Dragons with 1:26 on the point.
I mean, that third point was just a masterclass from the Shanghai Dragons of how to body block. Like, I don't know how else to put that, but like that was so good. That was so good. Toronto Defiant couldn't even walk out of spawn. Like, it wasn't even just the mines to try to crowd control Toronto away, but the way that Fate actually used the ground pound as well to knock everybody up, bought time as well. Like, that was just so cool. That was so cool to watch.
Yeah, the body block from Fate onto Finale went down eventually. And then Muse. Oh, it is tragic when you get body blocked. It does remind me of that it's not too much of an old clip, but FRD, Mr. Fried, getting staggered as Diva and just like perma body blocked.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
His face in the cam and he's just chewing gum. I'm like, that potentially the longest stagger that has ever happened ever. Like
look at it.
Just kind of reminds me of that. It's just a very sad moment.
This is just sad. Shield bash, knock up, mines. That's all she wrote there. Like, that was such good rotation through those cooldowns. Shanghai's just been on, like, they've been a locomotive this entire match. And I hope that Toronto can pull something out of here to be able to bring us into extra rounds of this map and maybe even into extra maps.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Now Muse back on the Winston Rose, not even trying to tussle with the Doom.
Maybe not confident. I mean, the rollouts can be a little weird on this map, I feel like, especially when you have so much high ground that might be difficult to cover as a Doomfist. You also just don't want to LOS your Ana either. Like, if you don't have Twilight to back you up, that's not going to be a happy time.
Yeah, it's really not. Man, I was like, is anyone going to heal Hisu there? He was like 1 HP standing behind that wall. He's good though. Slowly but surely they're moving the payload up. But it's just a matter of time before the Shanghai Dragons execute their dive. Ideally with Fleder alive. Okay, there you go. He gets away. Luckily enough.
Ooh, I like that too. Hisu just kind of looking behind him to use the dynamite to just make sure that no one's going to sneak up on a flank.
Wow. Okay, big kill onto Lee Jae-gon. Not bad. Good start. Yeah, Fleder. I felt like Fleder going super low towards the start of that fight, and as he was going to underground, it stopped him really following up on the Flate's pile driver there, which is kind of annoying. And see, he's still in the back line. Like, can Shanghai touch? It looks like they're going to be able to, but Fleder needs to be able to help Fate secure a kill. Liv kills Finale to start off the fight. Good little headshot. But then Ana boost onto Muse is going to separate the DPS of the Shanghai Dragons. But now they have to back off because they don't actually have DPS of their own right now because Hisu dies. Just Toronto Defiant just getting dealt with the worst hand possible. They use the nano to try and get an ear into the fight, but the Shanghai Dragons just clean up with the supports. But now looking for a pulse bomb, hits the wall, only a little bit of damage, but it was merely a tickle than anything else. Toronto Defiant a couple of meters away from getting the payload in. Now Fleder is all alone, but the Shanghai Dragons just running rings around him right now. Look at the positioning from Toronto.
Well, I know, like, are they on the defense or attack? Yeah. I'm not really sure.
Okay, there's the Bob. Pulse bomb was good. Charon cleaning up his Yaki. Okay, signs of life. There we go. Finale. Also poking his head in the fight. 1 minute and 30 seconds to go as Twilight takes the matters into his own hands with a couple of kills on the board. Toronto Defiant, I mean, they were just chasing the Dragons around the whole time, but they did manage to come out on top in the end.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call that some nice kiting, right? I think is what happened there, right? You have to pay a lot of respect to Lip, I feel like, is what happened in that last fight. You even give the nano over to Muse to make sure that Muse might be able to win out that 1v1 this time. But yeah, really nice rotations. It worked out. Maybe Finale is able to continue to get these legs up onto the Dragons as well as this cart moves forward.
All right, Hisu's got the Bob. Will be Coach gone up to the high ground, put that Bob on height, so it kind of denies the space. Might be the play, but I have to see. Just wants to take an off angle right now, but yeah. Headshot, couple little body shots, easy as you like. And now it's Lip on the ground. Now it's sending that back to height. Hasn't got Coach gun, so it's a go time for Muse. The rest of the Toronto Defiant. Nano and the rally were popped by Toronto, and a forcing of the Transcendent by Muse. Not the worst thing in the world, but not having support ultimates for this next fight might be a little bit of a pain in the side for Toronto. However, with Lee Jae-gon going down and Hisu potentially on high ground at this point, they might be good. Good save by Fleder. Kills Muse, but still the rest of his team go down.
Yeah, I think Toronto's okay with that. I mean, Muse can just kind of jump back to point here. Or just roll back, I guess, as he switches over to the Wrecking Ball and Bob comes out.
Ooh, that was a nice little boot, but he's still sitting in the doorway, so he should be good. Still doing a little bit of damage, but most of it's avoided. Speaking of Bobs, there's another one. Almost tanked the pulse bomb there. Get down, Mr. President. Wasn't quite quick enough, unfortunately. But Bob on the point is going to be a pain for Toronto to deal with. And the Shanghai Dragons still in control.
I know, but that bought time for Toronto to come back because that Bob wasn't really an LOS of anybody from Toronto when they could just back up.
Nice dynamite, Hisu. He's just getting perma-pocketed though. As long as he stays alive and just keeps throwing the dynamites, it's so much easy damage. He's 55% towards another Bob. We might see a 4-Bob fight, Heroes. I don't want to call it too early, as Lee Jae-gon does die and Fate is put to sleep. They do trade brick for brick. The Shanghai Dragons, I'll take that for them anytime. as they have the nicer spawns. Twilight doing so much work actually on its own. Almost managed to get a nice double kill. But the Shanghai Dragons still in a good position. Fate does fall, and Twilight goes down to Izayaki, but Fled is not getting off the payload just yet. He knows the importance of not C9ing, that is for sure, but there's 4 men on it. They do end up capping at the very last moment. The Shanghai Dragons, they didn't quite get their second Bob online. Maybe that was the... maybe
hey, we got 3 out of 4, though. 3 out of 4. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Worked out for the Toronto Defiant. Finale now looking to keep everything moving. Where is Fleta right now? Gotta watch behind you.
You see that? Finale dodged the post bomb from Fleta and then sprayed the red X on the wall.
Yeah.
Fleta didn't see it, but we saw it. Finale. You're good. Hisu does end up going down. Rally pop from the Dragon. Seems like a pretty easy cleanup. Finale with the post bomb in close quarters. Only finds chip damage. That overhealth doing a lot of work for Dragons in that tight corridor.
Yeah, I think Defiant just takes the L on this one. The rally in the tight space is not going to do you any favors if you're going to be playing against that. But now Toronto has a rally of their own. They also have the Nano. They have a great way to crowd control as well with the mines from Muse. That was fast, too, to charge that up. Muse had literally just switched over like a minute ago.
Yeah, crazy quick.
Pretty big.
Big slams will get you that ult charge pretty fast. Oh, misses late. All good. He was pretty quick. All right, no Bob v Bob, it's Lib's Bob. Oh my god! Man, he got folded like a bit of paper.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that one coming. Bob from Lib. And then Fate on top of that, like double knock up with the pile driver, and then Bob knocking you sky high. So unfortunately, Toronto Defiant did use their rally to start off that engagement, and yeah, not much else really came of that. So they've only got that nano boost for this last fight. 50 seconds to go, Rose.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at how much they've been able to get out of the Dragons, though. The rally, that fight just a little bit ago, the Transcendence, and we also just got the Pulse Bomb out of the Dragons. Toronto's okay with this. They're walking in with 3 more ultimates here. Even though, yeah, Twilight died while Zhurong was using the rally, Toronto still have ult economy here, and they've got the advantage if they use these smartly.
OT is approaching. Pulse Bomb on the ground. Only gets a couple of mine kills, not necessarily a kill on the enemy. Unfortunately, Zhurong is dead. He did get nanoed at 60% towards that rally, but it wasn't quite to be. The supports from the Shanghai Dragons filling the kill feed with red right now and spilling it all over the floor too. High ground from Lip is a good place to be. A Dynamite on Twilight. He does heal himself up with a nade, but that's just about it. He hasn't really got much else to rely on, and now Flare is hunting him down. It is Lip versus Finale on the point. Luckily, he's got the Bob. Sends it in the corner, and now it's up to the Toronto Defiant to dislodge Lip before he annihilates the rest of the team. Choron goes pretty low. His overtime is here, and the backup from the Dragons is just leeching out of the spawn. They've even got the rally coming online. They've got the Transcendence too. Looks almost unlosable for the Dragons right now. They just need to find the kills, but Ichigon ends up going down. Choron once again finding the better in the brick duel as the Defiant now in a 5v4 situation. Lob the Dynamite over and get that payload moving.
Oh, but we're starting to look at that territory where who's going to get those support ultimates online second? And are they going to have the sustain?
You got a touch. There's the rally from Lee Jae-gon. Choron gets his online and instantly pops it, and now they gotta go. Flair with the pulse could end it here. Nice pulse onto the supports. That should be it. The Shanghai Dragons with a Transcendence to top it all off. It's Finale on the point as Choron ends up going down, and the Dragons, they start off the tournament run with a bang.
Whew! Oh my goodness. Shanghai Dragons, I feel like just throughout the course of this series got better and better. You know, I love the way that they're able to adjust and adapt in any type of situation, and they're coming into this tournament very hungry. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're hungry for gold, like the mythological dragons, I suppose. I mean, it feels like that series and the way you put that sums up Shanghai's run in the regular season too. They start off a little bit cold, but then coming up pretty big. Still a good look from the Toronto Defiant though. A team that I think a lot of people pegged is not doing super well against the Shanghai Dragons, still gave them the runaround a lot of that time.
Absolutely. I mean, especially just even not on just the Doomfist. I think that was what was really impressive about the way that Toronto Defiant played is, you know, at the beginning of the series, we kind of prefaced this match as Toronto has looked best on this Doomfist composition. But the fact that they were also able to show us different compositional moments and still perform well bodes really well for them for the rest of this tournament.
Yeah, looking super good. We'll see what they can do in the lower bracket run, but the Shanghai Dragons do end up advancing, and the player of the match for this series is gonna be a Lip. It wasn't a flutter deadlift, it was a Lip deadlift in Eichenwalde. His Sojourn looking so good still. I mean, what can't this guy do?
Yeah, it's definitely easier to count the things that he can't do on one hand than the things that he can, because that's a lot of things, that's for sure. I mean, look at this. Like, the way that Lip was able to clutch out these final moments on Eichenwalde with the overclock active and just really performing on the Sojourn, or the Ashe. I mean, Ashe is just such a standout hero for Lip, and it shows, whether it was from Bob finding value from just having point presence or using it to be able to zone the rest of the members of Toronto Defiant off. It's great to see how Lip is able to adjust based on the situation.
Yeah, almost 10 final blows per 10, almost 12k
Bonkers.
damage per 10. Yeah, pretty insane right now. And yeah, we talk about the Bob being the sixth person on the team, but it does a whole lot of work. Like, it's harder for you to touch the point. Like, yeah, you can discord it, you can burn it down with a Zen, but if you're building up Bobs like routinely, and you definitely expect Lip to be doing that, and he did just that in the series just gone, it's just so much value, like an unbelievable amount, especially on not only obviously the push, I was gonna say push, but like escort maps and hybrid maps, but like on control we saw it too. The amount of times Lip just put a Bob on the point, and then you don't really have to worry for at least a few seconds, and then it gives your team a lot of space and time to maybe execute a dive.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, we saw Bob cap the point on control.
Exactly.
So
what more can you ask for? Well, maybe another game. We got Philadelphia Fusion and the Hongzhou Spark coming up after the break, but we're gonna take a quick breather and we're gonna head over to the desk after this. We'll see you in a sec.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Go to takemetomanoa.org today.
Welcome to Game Break, everybody. I'm here joined now by Lip from Shanghai Dragons. Lip, congratulations on the win. Before we get started, because this is my first time talking to you this season, how are you feeling right now? 자, 일단 오늘 승리 너무 축하드리고 인터뷰 시작하기 전에 아무래도 이제 1년 만에 제가 봤을 때 립 선수와 오랜만에 이야기를 나누게 됐는데 좀 오늘 소감 한 말씀 부탁드릴게요. 어떠신가요?
일단 오늘 이제 5월 달에는 이제 동서부끼리 그 경기를 하지 못하고 이번 달 들어서 이제 이번 연도 처음으로 이제 동서부끼리 경기를 하게 됐는데 일단 안 지고 이겨서 다행이라고 생각하고 이제 앞으로 더 많은 서부 팀들이랑 경기를 할 수 있게 되어서 더 재미있을 것 같아요.
Right. I mean, in the previous tournament, which was the kickoff clash, we didn't really have the time to go East versus West. But this tournament currently is the first iteration of the East versus West. So first of all, I think I'm very thankful and happy that we got the win today, and I'm very excited for the next matches that are about to come up because we're going to have a lot more of these East versus West matches. Talking about the East versus West, Lip, I do want to ask today. Of course, like you said, it was the first time that we were seeing that sort of battle. And you guys did come on top, but I do feel like Toronto, despite the 3-0 loss, 0-3 loss for them, they did put up a really good fight. What were your thoughts on your first opponent, the Toronto Defiant? 일단 첫 번째 질문 방금 말씀하셨다시피 립 선수가 어떻게 보면 동서부의 첫 번째 경기였는데 3대 0으로 오늘 이기셨지만 제가 봤을 땐 토론토가 그래도 굉장히 좋은 모습을 좀 보여줬다고 생각을 합니다. 립 선수가 보시기에 오늘 토론토의 경기, 토론토 좀 어떤 팀이었나요?
일단 제가 듣기에는 그래도 토론토가 이제 지금 서부에서는 그래도 그렇게 막 강한 팀이라는 인식이 저는 아직 잘 안 박혀 있어서 그래도 이제 방심하지 않고 대회를 치렀는데 그래도 멤버가 좋은 것답게 그래도 조금 힘들었던 것 같아요.
I mean, I did hear from people around me that saying that Toronto Defiants in the West weren't really a strong team, but we didn't really think about that going into today's match. We focused up and we sort of prepared as much as we can. And despite their loss, because they have a really, really solid roster, so it was definitely a tough win for us. All right, my second question for you, Shanghai Dragons, or Lip from Shanghai Dragons, is also I feel like Shanghai Dragons this season have found a lot of success after leaning a lot towards the Wrecking Ball dive composition. Do you believe that is sort of the best composition currently in the meta, or are you guys sort of just playing to your strength? 자, 두 번째 질문은 요즘 상하이 팀이 레킹볼 다이브 조합을 좀 기용을 하면서 좀 더 좋은 모습을 보여줬던 것 같아요. 립 선수가 보시기에 이 레킹볼 다이브 조합이 지금 현 메타에서 제일 좋은 조합이라고 생각을 하시나요? 아니면 좀 더 상하이 팀에게 좀 맞는 조합을 그냥 찾은 거라고 생각을 하시나요?
현 메타에서 안 좋은 탱커는 딱히 없다고 생각하고 그냥 자신들이 제일 잘할 수 있는 조합을 가지고 가는 게 저는 제일 맞다 생각해서 레킹볼은 그냥 저희한테만 잘 맞는 챔피언인 것 같아요. 저희가.
I do think that currently in the meta, there's not really a one top pick for the composition wise. I think what's for the current meta, the best thing is whatever the team feels comfortable or confident in, whatever they're really good at. That should be the composition that you should run for this meta. So to answer the question, the Wrecking Ball dive meta is sort of our color. That is what fits our play style the most for the current meta. That is why that is why we're using it the most. All right, Lip, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much for your time, and again, big congratulations on the win. 자, 이걸로 인터뷰 마치겠고요. 립 선수 오늘 승리 너무나도 축하드립니다.
네, 감사합니다.
All right, Dusk, back to you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much, Danny. I'm just going to pause before we go into the recap. Every single time he knocks out like a translating interview like that, I'm just sitting here going, he is a god. He is an absolute god, just going back and forth. So props to you, Danny.
We love Danny. Danny's the GOAT.
We stand Danny.
He's amazing. Although he's in Hawaii and we aren't, so.
Because he's talented and we're stuck here. Yeah.
You're right. We got to learn a new language. But congratulations again to the Shanghai Dragons going 3-0 there. But Costa, I'm going to come to you because it seemed like from the desk's perspective going into this game, it wasn't going to be as close as we actually saw for some of these games, despite it being a 3-0.
Yeah, it was a 3-0, but you know, it's one of those classic coin terms of it was a close 3-0. It's not, the scoreline doesn't show like how close this match was. We say it a lot. Yeah, it's really getting a little bit monotonous, but you know, it was true. Like the Toronto Defiant, especially here on this Illios, it looked like they were poised to take it the first 2 rounds. Their dive, playing on that Muse finale, just going forward all the time. Izayaki and the Shanghai Dragons just were really struggling to get positioning on the map and were just struggling to get anything done, but just by the skin of their teeth, just through the experience that they have as a team, were able to just claw down some of these maps. And you know, they do get this win onto Illios after some pretty clean wrecking ball play from Fate. But then we head over to Eichenwalde, and this could have been a very different map if that C9 by Fleta does not come through, because that really turned the tide, because that was going close to being Dragons held on the second point. Instead, it flips on its head, and they do manage to fully cap, and Toronto Defiant just did not have the answer themselves. So for me, Shanghai Dragons weren't their fully formed self. I think they were struggling with the aggressive Doomfist Tracer style that we see so commonly in the West, but they were slowly starting to get it. But I also want to give props to the Toronto Defiant. They played incredibly well, especially for the expectations that we had for them coming into this tournament. They're by no means the best team that we have in the West, but the execution of those dives was just immaculate. But the 8'7" gaming warlord and Lip said, enough of this. Gets over to that Ashe, and that was a big Ashe diff here on this Dorado, and that ended up getting them the win in this series.
Absolutely, and I do want to continue talking about Toronto Defiant right now because, again, they aren't out of it yet. Just because they took a loss on day 1 doesn't mean that they have to kiss the tournament goodbye. They are going to drop into the losers bracket. So, Johnny, what does this team really need to polish up to ensure that this loss does not happen again?
Honestly, not a lot.
Yeah.
Like this Toronto Defiant that we saw today, they're the lowest seed going to the tournament. They're like 12th seed. And you look at that number and you're like, wow, are they bad? They're 12.
Wow, that was brutal.
Bad. But that was a really good performance. Probably the most controversial thing I'll say all day is that I think they're like maybe like 2 changes away from being like maybe getting like 5th in this tournament, or maybe like even competing for like
5th.
2 changes.
4th.
They're pretty 2 big changes, okay? Because they're pretty.
Okay, what are these changes?
It's not like, oh, make your hair